Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution.
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 You want a revolution?
You say you want a revolution?
Revolution. The revolution.
It's going on right now.
Welcome to The Revolution, the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we ask today's most successful entrepreneurs to share the tools and strategies they use to build relationships and connections to grow their revenue. Now, your host for The Revolution, John Corcoran.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here, the host of this show, and I'm so privileged to be able to have conversations each week with interesting CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs of all kinds of companies. You can check out our archives if you want to see some of our previous conversations with CEOs or co-founders of Netflix, Kinko's, YPO, EO, Activation Blizzard, Lending Tree, and many more. And of course, this episode brought to you by Rise25, where we help B2B businesses to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships with Done For You podcast and content marketing. And if you are listening to this and never thought, should I do a podcast? I tell everyone, yes, absolutely. And we've got lots of resources on our website, rise25.com, if you want to learn all about how to do it. All right. And Dan, pleasure to have you here today. My guest is Dan Berzansky. He's the CEO and founder of One Team 360, which is a software service that helps companies to manage hourly and shift workers. It's known for gamifying employment to improve employee engagement, management, training, and reporting, and to help build a totally engaged team. So we're going to ask him all about it. And he launched it basically to scratch his own itch, because as the owner of a number of swim schools and a lifeguarding service, which employed hundreds of hourly workers, he needed some kind of solution to manage such a big team of workers and to encourage them to show up on time and do their shifts. And I met Dan through Entrepreneurs Organization in Orange County, which he is a member of and active there as well. Dan, such a pleasure to have you here today. And I told you I love to ask people about what sorts of entrepreneurial endeavors they were engaged in or side hustles they were engaged in when they were growing up. About half my guests, were doing lemonade stands or something like that. Many of them were like me, didn't do that many different things, or they were engaged in some other passion. For you, it was swimming. You're a competitive swimmer, and that brought you eventually to swim instruction. So tell us a little about what that was like during your childhood.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for having me, John. I'm excited to be here. And it's funny, my entrepreneurial journey started at, I think, the ripe old age of 14 years old, where I was really teaching backyard swim lessons in my community pool. And it's something, I grew up a swimmer, swam through college. It's always been a passion of mine. I do think, now as I'm older and I've done this professionally for a number of years, it's such an important thing. You look at the stats and, the number one cause of death for children under the age of 16 is drowning. And it's such a big piece. And it's not why I got into it initially. I got into it because I loved it, but that's definitely what's kept me in it. It started from 14, 15 years old, teaching kids in the neighborhood. Initially how to ride bikes, then it was how to swim. And really it continued through college. So I went off to college. I'd come back in the summers. I would run the local summer league swim team, teach swim lessons from morning till night. Try and save up $20,000 or $30,000 in a summer, just in swim lessons. And that would kind of get me through my school year and everything I needed. And then it kind of followed me. My first job out of college was running an aquatics department for a local JCC. I opened that facility. I was there for about 8 or 9 years. And interesting enough, it's kind of been a full circle situation for me, because I left, while working at the JCC, they offered me the opportunity to go to grad school. They had some other bigger, better jobs for me in the organization. I ended up, I did my MBA at Pepperdine. And when I finished my MBA and I was ready for that next step in the organization, it was right around 2008, 2009. And we all know what that looked like.
Yeah.
There was plenty of opportunities for them to save some money. So it was really a really interesting situation. I was, I had a commitment to stay with them for 5 years. They were struggling. So I took a step back, and they released me from my commitment to be there for 5 years. and I left and I started a business with a buddy, very much similar to what we do now. That lasted about 3 months. Partnership was hard, but right away,
Was it hard going into partnership with a friend?
I don't know that I would ever do that again. Yeah, it's there's too many opportunities and there's too many. I wouldn't want to kill a friendship again. That's for sure. And that's what it did. It was a challenge. So I started Premier Aquatics 4 months later with 0 clients. And today I think we're the biggest lifeguard service agency on the West Coast of the United States. And we're knocking on the doors of some of the other big boys as well. So,
and you have now, so you developed a swim school and you developed a lifeguard business. Which came first?
Yeah. So the lifeguard business was first.
Okay.
Our lifeguard business initially, and it's funny that we talk about pivoting. The lifeguard agency, originally we were Premier Aquatics today, but when I started the business, we were Premier Recreation Services. So we did your swim, we did your swim lessons, your swim teams, but we also did all of your Halloween events and recreation events and
anything under the sun, right? Anything that'll pay me, I'll take you. Any client that will come. Yeah.
Anything revolving around kids, right? Kids and families. And then we really work to streamline. And today Premier Aquatics is purely a lifeguard agency. And then Premier Swim Academy is my swim school brand. We have 3 locations, 2 which we own and 1 that we lease. We lease from a city, but it's taken off. It's been a lot of fun.
I had a conversation with a woman who ran swim schools, and what struck me by that conversation was just the stakes are so high that I don't know that I could ever own a business like that, because I just don't know that I'd be able to sleep at night. How do you deal with that kind of pressure, knowing that your teams are getting in the water with kids that can't swim and their lives are on the line?
Yeah. I like to think that we do things differently. So we didn't buy any curriculum. We've developed the curriculum over 10 years. Every one of my facilities, you won't see a swim lesson happening without one, everybody's trained in the water. They do about 60 hours of training, which I think the next closest competitor I've heard of, they do about 20 to 30 hours. Every shift has a deck manager on deck watching classes. We've even gone as far as to create a really the simplest of systems, but it's a flag system where if an instructor feels like they've got a squirrely kid that we need to keep an extra set of eyes on, we've got a flag that shoots up in the sky and it tells mom, hey, you need to keep a special eye on this one. It tells our managers to keep a special eye on it. We'll even throw extra bodies at it. But then, then it's a matter of just developing the right team, right? So if I sleep very well at night. I'm obviously always nervous. We're a lifeguard company. We've had drownings that we've responded to, and we will have more that we will respond to. But if we've got the right team in place and you've cultivated them and supported them and trained them, where they are doing the same thing with their team, really, every one of my people has ownership. Like they know it's their business, like it's mine, and they want it to be great. And I really feel like I have partners. I don't have people who work for me. I have partners in our business.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the motivation is that you overwhelmingly are helping kids to learn to swim and preventing drownings, because people have a skill that's going to prevent them from an avoidable death throughout their lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's, we're not just educating kids, we're educating parents as well. So you'll see in nearly every community we work in, and we work all the way from, we work for the Marine Corps, we work all the way through cities, private clubs, private HOAs. A lot of what we do is community outreach and education. So we work with an organization called Stop Drowning Now, where we provide free education programs to all of our clients. And really, I think that the most startling thing is 9 times out of 10, a parent comes in and says, my kid's water safe. And then we get them in, we have them try to backfloat or catch a breath one time, and the kids are just straight down. So it's educating. It's saying, hey, I know you think that they're comfortable in the bathtub and they're comfortable in the baby pool. And, maybe they're comfortable for a minute, but on a hot day when they've been in the water for 2 hours, and they're getting tired, you've got to pay attention and get off your phone and pay attention.
Yeah. So. And I have to say, I have 4 kids. Oldest is 12, youngest is 4. The most fun I've ever had with my kids my entire lifetime has been in a pool. So
Yeah.
just having fun with my kids in a pool. It's a time when the phone is away, other distresses are away, and you just have pure fun with your kids.
Yep. Yep. It's a happy place. Well, our vacations tend to revolve around the pool or the beach for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about kind of this challenge you had. And I remember when we first spoke about it, you said that I think it was in your lifeguard business, you had discovered that there's one instance where one of your facilities, you had a lot of people quitting. Maybe it was the swim school, but you kind of launched this feedback, and you could tell that it was an issue with a manager. And I don't know if that was the direct inspiration of the software solution that you came up with, but that was one of the challenges, was getting feedback and also motivating workers to complete shifts. So talk a little bit about what motivated this software program, One Team 360.
Yeah, that's for me, that's a no-brainer. Really, I built it in silos initially, and really the initial issue we were having is when you think about shift workers, when you think about hourly employees, generally speaking, you're going to have someone working a shift kind of beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day, whatever it might be. And you may have a number of different managers or supervisors interacting with them. So our initial problem that we were having was that someone would work a shift and they would have upwards of 3 managers interacting with them, but there was no real way for us to communicate conversations that we had or document conversations that we had in a really clean way that was private, that was controllable, that was, you've got Google Sheets and things like that. When we started, we didn't have that, but now you do. But one that actually controls it in such a way where the employee has access to their files, managers have access, we can communicate. From there, it turned into, we started realizing, one, now we've fixed this issue, right? Now we know exactly if you talk to Johnny about something and I talk to Johnny about something, we both got records, we can see the conversations, what coaching we gave, and we can kind of stop the bleed. But the next issue that we ran into really came down to training and just consistency across our organization. We're in about 100 facilities. So we were having issues where facility 1 and facility 31, the staff looked different, they dressed different, they trained different, where we have a really repeatable process, but not if we don't build in some kind of system to implement. So the next step we did is we built in a training module. Once we built in the training module, we added in what we call our incentive, our progressive employment ladder, where we basically said, okay, now coming down to points. And this is you may or may not be amused by this one, but I say to every demo we do, I say, you do 90-day probation for your new employees, right? And they said, yeah, of course, everybody does 90-day. I said, okay, well, here's employee A who worked 60 shifts in 90 days, and employee B worked 3 shifts in 90 days. So how do you grade them on the same playing field, right? So we built this points-based system where you want to get out of probation, great, 20 points. And 20 points means 20 successful shifts, right? You're dressing our way, you're there on time, you're speaking our language, you know what we're doing. And then that turned into just a full-blown incentive program. If you want to raise, if you want to interview for a managerial position, if you want to earn more PTO, if you want paid volunteer hours, which is what we offer, great, go and earn it. It's right in front of you. It takes you 20 points to get to that, 40 points to get to that, 60 points to get to that. And it's really made a big difference in how transparent the whole process is for younger staff.
It sounds like that is something that requires a lot of customization for you as far as building the software product and having to work with each individual client in order to kind of customize what the incentive programs look like.
It used to be. We've systemized it now where it's something really easy. We build the entire system for our clients, but we do it based on their actual data. So we'll say, okay, what is your current retention rate? Most of them don't even know how to calculate a retention rate for staff. So we'll help them calculate that number, and we'll decide on a goal. What do you want it to be? And obviously they all say 100, and we say, okay, let's be realistic. What can you afford, and what can we do here? And then we will build out a custom program for them. We'll say, based on what you're telling us, what we believe, for example, my lifeguard business, every 20 shifts or every 20 points, you get some kind of incentive. On my swim school business, where we keep people much longer, it's 20, then 25, then 30, then 35.
Depends on how, the business. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
And
we
what does the
that.
incentive look like? What do you typically recommend? Is it like a Starbucks gift card, or is it something else? What do you recommend to people?
Yeah, it's a little bit more personalized than that. So the employees get to build out their favorite things, and we get to incentivize them with what they love, not what we love. But it's also, nobody gets a raise without earning enough points to earn a raise. Nobody gets an interview for a managerial position without earning enough points for a managerial role. So really, we've laid out the entire. I mean, now my lifeguard business goes through, I think, 250 points, which is basically 2.5 years on average, which is really where we want to be. At that point, they're managing for us. We're paying for some of their extra education to kind of get them to their next step in their careers. And that's a successful relationship for us. And
this is all laid out for them. Like, can they go on an app on their phone and view it, or how do they access it? Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, it's all app based. It's they just look in the app. They say, they get trained from day one, and we say, this is one team and this is how it works. And when you want your first raise, you just let us know. Just pick up some more shifts or open your availability up, and then it really is up to them. It's no, we haven't had a single complaint that the raise was taking too long since, because they're in complete control, right? If they want to raise, great, pick up a few more shifts and the raise is yours. And it's all based on actual data. So it's no longer my manager doesn't like me. It's all based on actual data and data points, and we're giving them feedback. And the beauty is now we've added in this new component, which you alluded to. So at the end of a shift, they get a push notification to their phone saying, hey, thanks for the shift. Log in to see how you did, but first tell us how we did. So now they get to provide our managers, anyone who interacted with them that day, the system will say, hey, these are your managers that interacted with you. Rate them 1 to 5 on a scale of 1 to 5. How did they do in this category, that category, that category? And what we found is with the 360 feedback, we are able to determine who are the managers that are keeping people, who are the managers who are scaring people away, who are our most successful team members, trainings, and so on. It really is, it's a really cool bit of insight that we never had before. What do you say to people who say, you know what, we can't reduce this down to a points-based system. It's too unique. We're too much of a special snowflake, whatever you want to call it. It says there's too much subjectivity to it to reduce all of this down to a points-based system.
What I would say is, one, get on board. It's coming. But what I would also say is that we're dealing with a completely different generation. So the way that they communicate with you, the way that you communicate with them has got to change. And if you aren't getting into some kind of virtual or app-based communication and coaching and so on, you're going to miss the boat. And the example that I give again and again, I stopped by one of our facilities and watched a training. Excuse me. And I sat next to must be a 16-year-old female lifeguard. I sat with her for a good hour. I'm just watching and chatting. I'm, shaking hands and kissing babies and doing my thing. And we had a lovely conversation and everything was great. The very next day, I get a 360 feedback alert sent in through one team, and she was filing a complaint, not against me, but against one of her managers, where she felt like she was being sexually harassed. Okay, now she sat with the owner of the company for an hour, and I can tell you, we were just chit-chatting. There was, it wasn't a scary situation.
But she didn't say anything to you.
Didn't say a word to me, right? But anonymously through an app, she reported it. She felt better. As the owner, I can see who submitted it. And I was able to nip that in the bud immediately, right? I got to jump right in. And what would have happened is she would have just
gone unreported, or she would have
got it unreported. Yeah. She would have quit. She would have sued us. Something would have happened.
Yeah.
And we've had that a few different times. We've had, we had a wrongful termination suit where the lawyer sends us all the paperwork and we're being sued for wrongful termination. And with 2 clicks of an export, I send the lawyer the entire training and performance history of this employee right out of one team. And the response from the attorney was, "Thank you. You will not hear from us again."
Interesting. Wow.
So
Wow.
it's just
You're like,
we've got to
woo!
we've got to get on board with it. We can't ignore the fact that times are changing, and the way that this new generation coming up is communicating and needs to be communicated with and by. It just we've got to get on board, because they're communicating through TikTok, and they're communicating through Instagram. And while even for the people listening to this who don't have hourly employees yet, they're coming. Like that right now they work for me, but pretty soon they're graduating and working for you.
Yeah.
And the way you communicate and manage them is different than you've ever seen. It's different.
I want to ask you about, you have the successful lifeguard and swim school business, and then all of a sudden you say to your family, to your friends, to your team, we're going to start this new software business. And now you've got a team of developers. You raised $1.5 million. What has that been like? Both, did you get some feedback from people saying, "What are you doing? This is nuts. This is a completely different type of business for you to run." And secondly, how has it been for you building a much different type of business model?
Humbling. It's the main word that I can use, but really, I didn't think it would turn into this. When I went into it and I talked to my wife, I said, "Look, we have an opportunity. We're going to try to raise some money, but I doubt we'll raise anything." And if it happened, and then just overnight, things went well with that. Once you've seen the system, you can kind of understand there's a lot there.
How far did you take it before you went to raise money?
So the original system was just called the app. We affectionately refer to it as the app. It was just an internal single tenant system that we used for Premier. And then we had started developing it as we decided to raise money. And then all raising money did was speed up the process, right? It was going to be, I was committing, $50,000 a month to development. And then all of a sudden it's $200,000 a month is the big difference.
How much money did you put in before you raised money?
The app cost me $500,000, $300,000 to $500,000.
Oh wow! So you put in a significant sum at that point.
So we already knew it worked. We already knew what was going on with it. We already had scrapped ideas and rebuilt other ones. Yeah. But we were building it in a low code, no code environment. So it was much easier to do it then. Now with our new infrastructure, our new tech stack, everything's a little bit more deliberate. But really, it's been a challenge. I think the product itself has been relatively easy because we understand it. We understand who uses it. Marketing has been a challenge for us. It's really, I'm great on the service side, but we're selling an operating system. Yeah. And it really is it's been a completely different ballgame. Very humbling. I mean,
very different from selling, I'm going to teach your kid to swim, or I'm going to put lifeguards in place. You need lifeguards for your pool in order for people to be there. It's a very different type of sale. Yeah.
Yeah. People Google swim lessons for my child. Right. People don't Google app for managing my staff. Right. 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 And we ask people to kind of change the way they operate. But the fact of the matter is that year over year now, we've had a year under our belt. The average increase in retention is 44% across our customers. So when you think about what that means, 44%, they've increased their retention by 44%.
Increase in retention of staff. Yeah, that's really high.
Increased retention of staff. It's a big number. And the fiscal impact is amazing. Right. Just not having to retrain, rehire, loss of clients, and so on. So
I'm sure you tried. I'm sure you tried other solutions that were out there before you sunk in $500,000 to build your own solution. What did you find was lacking with these other solutions that were out there?
Great question. Really, they're all built for full-time employees sitting at a cubicle, right? Working a full-time real job. Mm-hmm. So there was nothing really focused on shift and hourly based people. So really historically, we're speaking to kids. So really the vast majority of our clients, of our users, are under 24 years of age. And I would say under 22 years of age is probably 80% of them. So everything that we saw, it involved me giving a lot of money out, shelling a lot of money out for gifts and and so on. It's a lot of kudos based, like, hey, I'm giving you 5 points. I'm giving you 5 points that you can spend in our company store. It's just not what we do. And it didn't scratch the rest of our itches. It didn't fix our training issue. It didn't fix our compliance issue. It didn't fix our HR issues. So there were so many things that those systems can't do. They are very niche and very gift oriented, where we are we take a full holistic view of the entire organization, and we fix that.
Yeah. Of course, one of the challenges of that is then it's so many things at once. And I know from having interviewed many founders that sometimes the challenge there is, an app can become bloated, or it's hard to articulate all those different benefits. What has that tension been like for you, having this vision, having experienced it yourself, used it for your own business, knowing all these different bells and whistles, so to speak, versus, creating something that's stripped down, that's simple, that's easier to explain?
Yeah, I mean, we go back and forth. Like, in fact, I have this tinge of, not embarrassment, but kicking myself every time I demo it, because there is so much.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So you've got the training components, you've got the HR components, you've got the incentive program, but we've also got custom reporting. We've also got task management. We've also got team competitions. So when you start to go through it, the issue that I've seen is that a lot of people will start to kind of glass over, going, oh my God, this is way bigger than we can take on. So the way we've combated that is the addition of an implementation fee. And we interview your team. We build the system like we think it should be built. We get your buy-in, and then we actually physically build the system out. There's nothing for you to do as a client. So it's a full turnkey implementation where we do these 2 interviews, and then a week later, your entire system's ready to go. Actually, usually 24 hours later, it's ready to go. And you can start using it tomorrow. Drop some names in it and go.
Yeah.
The biggest issue we've had, the only real issue we've had, the companies who don't follow through, the employees get upset, right? Because they love it. It doesn't take much to get the employees to buy in, but it's really important that the owners or the GMs or
they drop the
managers
ball.
are buying.
Yeah. What about the decision to make it broader than swim schools, broader than lifeguarding? That's obviously the world you've lived in for many years, but I look at the homepage of One Team 360 and it doesn't say anything about swim schools or lifeguarding. You deliberately made it a broader solution.
Yeah, industry agnostic. And we are focusing right now, as we're still kind of getting our sea legs underneath us with regards to marketing and selling this thing. We really are focusing on swim schools, lifeguards, water parks, amusement parks. But we've got cannabis dispensaries in there as well. And they're getting as much use, if not more, out of it. And
I want their
warehousing.
Perks. I want their perks.
But then we've got warehousing groups, because we can dump in the entire OSHA training platform. And then you can actually run and train off of all your OSHA trainings or your state licenses, certificates. I'm glad we built it industry agnostic. And until we figured out that we have to implement for you, it was a problem. Once we figured out that, hey, we'll do the heavy lifting for you and just turn over a ready to go system, everything changed.
Yeah. Where do you go from here? What are you most excited about leaning into the future? Of course, building a startup now is a tough time. We're recording this in March of 2023. Not a great environment for raising money at all. Right. Has that set back plans at all?
No. I mean, financially, we're doing pretty good right now. We will likely have to do another raise, but minimal, really minimal. I mean, we're looking at $500,000. I would say in the next 6 months or so. But what I'm most excited about is we're likely bringing on a marketing partner who will help us to understand SaaS marketing. And we're trying a lot of things, and we're trying to do it ourselves. But we're realizing that we're really good at we can sell it, but getting the eyeballs to it is the challenge, right? Our demo close rate is amazing. We just need more demos.
Yeah.
So I'm most excited for that. And then just to see our integrations come to life. We've got some amazing integrations coming. In the next 3 months, you will be able to onboard your applicant tracking system. We have a partner that we're working with, and we're doing a direct integration.
Oh, like
so
like we use Jazz HR, so like an applicant tracking system like that, and you plug them directly into. That's great.
Directly in.
Yeah.
So it's going to be applicant tracking, full onboarding and training, right into one team, plus time and attendance and payroll, all tied into one set of partnerships. And I'm really excited for that. That's just going to be, for us, a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. As someone who has hopped careers throughout his career many times, from politics to entertainment industry to law to podcasting, I'm kind of fascinated with people that go into a completely new industry and how they learn that industry. And I'm interested in knowing that, who you turn to. I know we spoke before and you said Dan Martell has a great program that you've been a part of. Speak to that a little bit about what that's been like for you, basically kind of going back to school and learning a completely new industry, new platform, and how to build a business in this world.
Yeah, I mean, I'll use the word humbling again, because it is, when you come from relative success, right? My swim school is my agency, my lifeguard agency has been, we're getting bigger, and we've got a really built out org, and it's working. And then to take a step back, where I'm writing content for the website, and I'm writing email sequences, and I'm back in it. It's been a learning curve.
Some people love that, and then other people are like, what did I do to myself here?
I grinded so hard. We're 11 or 12 years in with the lifeguard business and swim schools. At year 8, when I started this project, year 8 or year 9, I was finally making money and living a really nice life. And I had time, and I had money. My kids were young. It was, if I knew then what I know now, I definitely would have thought twice about getting into this. Now that I'm here, it's incredible. I really enjoy my time. I feel rejuvenated. I feel excited about learning and trying to figure out this algorithm. I haven't had success. I haven't figured it out yet. I will tell you that. But I'm really enjoying the process and meeting new people in new industries and learning from others, and just a lot of this. I'm enjoying this process.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, Dan, this has been such a pleasure talking to you about it. Where can people go to learn about One Team 360 and Premier and connect with you and schedule a demo? Yeah,
so oneteam360.com. We've got our new website coming soon, but please visit us there now. And then swimoc.com is our lifeguard Premier Aquatics website, and Premier Swim Academy is our URL. So premierswimacademy.com. So yeah, we'd love the visitors. If anybody wants to come visit, come check it out. I'd love to show you around.
Excellent, Dan. Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time, John.
Thank you for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast with John Corcoran. Find out more at smartbusinessrevolution.com. And while you're there, sign up for our email list and join the revolution. Revolution. And be listening for the next episode of the Smart Business Revolution podcast.